I am Jenna Bosonko, and this is Qtv Midday News, coming to you live from our studios along Kairaba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main local and international news headlines. At its recently monthly meeting with stakeholders, the Electoral Commission set out the rules and regulations for nominating candidates for December's presidential election. The Qtv National Social Protection Forum has ended with a call to action handed over to the Vice President for the government to implement an inclusive social protection system. On the day, Regulatory Authority Pura set out the reasons for suspending the license of GSM operator company Comium. The company responded by calling a press conference to refute Pura's statement. In international news, sickle cell disease sufferers in UK are rejoicing as a new drug is approved for treatment of the condition. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Thank you for joining us. This is Qtv Midday News, and I am Jenna Bosonko. Now, the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, on Wednesday held its monthly forum with stakeholders including CSOs and the media, focusing on the occasion on the requirements and process for nominating candidates for the December's presidential election. QTV's Omar P. Jallo has the rest of that story.
Nominations will be conducted from the 30th of October 2021 to the 5th of November 2021 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily at Elections House along the Battle-Hardened Highway, Carnifing. Candidates will be allocated a specific time slot to present their nomination papers to the returning officer of the election. Delivering the opening statement, the IEC chairman Ali Momar Njai assured Gambians of a free, fair and credible election in December.
Our system is probably the most transparent, accurate and credible throughout the whole world. That's why I indulge everybody, no matter what candidate you support, that it is free, fair and transparent, and no authority, nobody, no organization can really derail our system.
The Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC, Sambujang Yai, explained the requirements for the nomination of a presidential candidate.
A candidate shall be a citizen of the Gambia. 2, a candidate must have or attain a minimum age of 30 years. 3, a candidate must have completed senior secondary school education. 4, a candidate must have been ordinarily resident in the Gambia for 5 years immediately preceding the election. 5, a candidate must be nominated by not less than 5,000 voters whose name appeared in the register of voters, with at least 200 being drawn from each of the administrative areas. 6, a candidate must present a sworn declaration of assets. 7, the candidate must also put forward or present an income tax, a tax clearance certificate. 8, the candidate must also pay a deposit of $10,000. 9, a candidate must submit his symbol, color, and photograph to be used in the election. 10, a person who is qualified to register as a voter under the Constitution and the Elections Act may contest as an independent candidate.
CEO Njai also revealed that there will be a strict security by the Gambia Police Force to ensure a peaceful and orderly nomination process. Mr. Njai called on political parties and candidates to cooperate fully with the police during this period.
The IEC is also working with the Gambia Police Force to put in place sufficient security to avoid any unnecessary or ugly scene. And the police will be there to help in crowd management, traffic management, as well to secure the premises of the IEC.
The country's electoral body also noted that a political party or candidate must abide by the Code of Conduct on the Election and Ethics, which the Commission may from time to time prepare, adding that a candidate must also submit their manifesto to encourage the spirit of openness, tolerance and multiculturalism. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Omar P. Jallo there on the nomination process. Now, the two-day National Social Protection Forum ended with a call to action paper handed over to the Vice President and an action plan developed for implementations of an inclusive social protection system for Gambians. Mohamed Lamin Choi has the rest of that.
The National Social Protection Forum has ended after consultative discussions with actors in the Gambia's social protection field from every part of the country. The significance of this convergence is set to facilitate experience sharing from national and regional levels for best practice, innovative approaches, addressing common challenges to map out a way to strengthen the country's social protection system. On behalf of the National Assembly Speaker, Senator, the Deputy Majority Leader of the Assembly expressed concern over the rise in income inequality in relation to decent work, quality education, health care, and productive assets.
It may interest you to know that the National Assembly is an ardent advocate for social protection. This became evident during the last budget session when Parliament approved a large chunk of money to social protection. Moreover, we have also passed into law the Women Enterprise Fund Bill and the Disability Bill, both of which are social protection compliant.
The theme for this forum is Social Protection, a Mechanism for Inclusive Development. To achieve this, the Gambia government is working with partners such as the UN and the World Bank, with the latter currently co-financing a 5-year $31 million social safety net project. The project seeks to improve coordination of social protection and support for a social registry as a tool to prioritize beneficiaries on social programs and the NAFA program of cash transfers. Lydia Mesfin Aceres speaks on behalf of the World Bank country representative.
Investing in people not only increases the individual's earning capacity, but increases the productivity of the country as a whole, and that's why it's important to invest in social protection, health and education.
Following discussions in this forum, a call to action paper was developed and an action plan for implementation by government. The call to action paper encourages the government to fulfill its commitment through sustainable actions for an inclusive social protection system and reduce vulnerability and poverty in the country to enable women, children and other vulnerable families and groups to enjoy basic human rights. Alai Bara, the National Social Protection Secretariat Coordinator, reads out the call to action paper.
On social protection program coverage, develop a harmonized national cash transfer system for all cash transfers in the Gambia. Implement a national health insurance scheme and universal pension scheme.
The call to action paper was presented to the Vice President through her office's Deputy Permanent Secretary of Admin and Finance, Ramusar. In its commitment to social protection, the Gambia government is working to introduce a national health insurance scheme and other social protection programs to cushion the socio-economic impacts facing vulnerable people in the country, which is mainly caused by poverty.
In achieving these social protection measures and systems development, government will take the lead, but you as development partners, civil society and non-government organizations should accompany the government in this worthy and rewarding journey.
Government's commitment is to strengthen the social protection system through a more inclusive and sustainable approach to serve as a driver towards supporting and mitigating the suffering of the vulnerable for sustainable development of the Gambia. Mohamed Lamin Chai, QTV News.
The Gambia Public Utilities Regulatory Authority PURA on Wednesday announced the suspension of Comium GSM Company for failing to complete its 2021 license payment, including order arrears and official requirements. However, Comium has reacted to some of the claims made by PURA at a press conference held at their headquarters along Kaiba Avenue. Here is a report by Yaya Jawo.
Following the suspension of the services of GSM company Comium by PURA on October 5, 2021, for failing to pay its outstanding spectrum, licensing and international gateway fees for the years 2020 and 2021. The GSM company responded at a press conference held at its headquarters, where they reacted to some of the claims made by Pura in its press conference earlier in the day. Speaking to the press on Wednesday morning, the Director General of Pura, Yusufa M. Job, says the suspension came after Comium's failure to settle certain requirements, including payment of arrears, failure to submit a work plan, failure to upgrade from 2G to 3G and 4G networks, and the company's old infrastructure. The company, he said, failed to respond until the deadline of the suspension timeline, when they paid $14 million, which the DG described as an insufficient amount to be considered to allow them to resume operations.
We gave them 2 weeks to comply and bring forward the information required, as well as make good on the payment. Unfortunately, at the end of the deadline, actually before the deadline, they responded within few hours to say that they were going to comply. And I think the only thing they objected to was the fact that the mail that we wrote to them was copied to other competitors. But this is something required under our act, because other operators need to be aware so that they can also prepare for any eventuality on a loss to their systems.
However, reacting to the suspension, Comium officials say they were surprised by the move taken by the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, Pura, saying the company had positive meetings with Pura, in which they and a new international investor paid $14 million out of its gross dues, and also expressed its determination to pay out the remaining amount without relating the payment to its receivable dues of $21 million from Gamtel. Comium's technical director, Lamin Drame, says the suspension is unfortunate, but they are doing everything possible to reverse the situation. He says the company has complied with Pura's regulation throughout its existence, but were recently challenged by other circumstances which include the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's unfortunate we find ourselves in this situation today, but I want to assure everyone that the goodwill is there, and we are hoping to reverse this situation very soon. Yes, we had issues of investment, and we have been struggling financially from 2019 up to date. And the reason for that was the COVID-19. Everybody knows that.
He also gave a breakdown of the $65 million that Comium owes the Gambia government.
What Comium owes the government summed up to 65 million. Again, we want to throw light on that. Yes, it's true, it's 65 million, but we will split that for you. Now, out of the 65 million, 42 million is our license fee for 2021, which is not due until the end of December this year.
Hadi Dande Jabi, Comium's legal advisor, also commented on the matter.
Throughout these years, we have never failed in paying staff salaries or benefits to the staff, and that could be attested to by the staff that are here present today.
The company announced that its new international investor, Monty Mobile of the UK, is ready to pay all their arrears immediately should Pura lift the suspension to allow them continue operations. The company says it will not only improve on its economic situation, but will also create additional jobs and increase the existing workforce of the company by 30%, while safeguarding the main source of living of the company's more than 120 employees. Reporting for QTV News, I am Yahya Jao.
From that story by Yahya Jao, we will now go for a short commercial break. When we come back, we have some more local news stories as well as international. Do stay tuned.
Looking for the fastest and easiest way to receive money transfers from abroad? Well, QMoney and RIA just made it happen. Now you can receive international money transfer from RIA directly into your QMoney account with no additional cost. Once you receive an SMS alert about your transfer, walk into any QMoney agent across the country to receive your payment for free, or use the money immediately to buy credit, QPower, and other QMoney services. It's fast, safe, and convenient. For more info, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sunu Calpe. Terms and conditions apply.
from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV Midday News, and I am Jenna Bosonko. Now, Abdoulaye Jallow, a young Gambian sheep farmer, has urged youths to embrace entrepreneurship, especially animal husbandry. Our reporter Ansumane Sonyasi visited Jallow's sheep farm at Old Yundum, and this is his report.
What started as a desire and dream to own an animal farm in 2018 has now become reality. Driven by his unwavering passion for farming, Jallow now owns a big farm where he is engaged in various types of farming and has almost 20 of these rare and in-demand sheep breed. Jallow also grows various species of oranges, guavas, mangoes, corn, among other fruits. He tells QTV that he scoops around $3,000 for each of these over 50 orange trees once they bear fruit and are harvested, at least twice a year. He also has a poultry farm and rears rabbits. However, the one stock that keeps him afloat in what is a very competitive market is his rare sheep breed that brought him national recognition after pictures of him and the president posing for photos with one of his trademark sheep surfaced online just days before the last Tobaski feast.
When
I started this business, it was not easy. It really was very difficult. I did not expect to gain this much within a few years, but I thank God for His blessings. Today, I employ young people in my neighborhood to support me on my farm. This is like a dream come true for me, and I couldn't be more thankful to God. Jallow thanked President Barrow for patronizing him during the last feast and vows never to stop working hard. With time, I would like to expand. However, I would also like to encourage my fellow youth to embrace farming. When one is self-employed, you are independent. My dream is to be the biggest agricultural entrepreneur in the country, and I am determined to achieve that. I implore my fellow young people to dream big and work hard, because in this life, anything is possible. Pamalik Job is one of the young people working on the farm. He says he is inspired by Abdoulaye Jallow's passion for farming, and as a supervisor, his task is to satisfy client needs. Kiriwell Farm, he adds, is here for all Gambians. Thanks to Abdoulaye for his guidance and support. I also have my own farm where I grow vegetables. He is very passionate about farming. He inspires and pushes us all to do more. Thanks to his farm, we are able to sustain ourselves, take care of our needs and save money. Meanwhile, as one of the rising farming entrepreneurs in the country, Abdoulaye has been invited to the upcoming Livestock Show, a public event organized by the Livestock Association and partners to help farmers publicize their products and services. With his business gaining prominence, he hopes his story will help encourage more young people to embrace farming. Answane Sonyasi for QTV News.
Thumbs up, Mr. Jallow. Now, over the weekend, the Gambia Police Force, in collaboration with regional stakeholders, organized a two-day training course for community policing volunteers in URR, funded by the UNDP. Alaji A.F. Jallow has the rest of that.
Community policing is a strategy that focuses on developing relationships with communities. It is a problem-solving techniques that proactively addresses the immediate conditions that give rise to public safety issues such as crime, social disorder, and fear of crime. The volunteers being trained were drawn from 5 districts in the region. Samuel Jemelusi, a retired Inspector General of the Nigerian Police, who is also a UNDP consultant on community policing, explained what community policing is all about.
Community policing is a new philosophy of policing. You know, before now, the traditional method is to wait for crime to be committed, and then the police will go after the offender, making arrests, investigating cases, and prosecuting the offenders. But over time, it's been revealed that this has not really solved the problem of crime. So the new philosophy is to be proactive. That is, we ensure we take appropriate steps before crime is committed at all.
Superintendent Lamin Jaite, the officer commanding the community policing, said the purpose of the exercise is to inform community policing volunteers their operational guidelines.
Modern day policing is anchored on democratic policing that advocates for the total involvement of members of the community in the business of policing. Meaning that is to tell you that we cannot do it alone. We need the support, the collaboration of the members of the community to on board to help in the management of crime. It is helping the Gambia Police Force in many ways, because if you look at it, the logistic base of the Gambia Police Force is it is not there. We don't have the required logistics that will help us entirely police this country. You also look at the population of the country as per the police. The population outnumbered the police. So that is to tell you, there is another good justification for the need for community policing in this country.
Mandu Mane, a community policing volunteer, told us why community policing matters.
Community policing akumata bakele because ni ajibe sate o sate problem olle be sate o nyinkono ado ngalon nako na Gambia jam polisol e mobe siake kenna problem be address.
Community policing is very important. There are problems in every community. We all know that the police don't have the manpower to address all the problems in every community. This initiative will help maintain law and order and drastically reduce crime in society. It will help us manage crime before it reaches the police. The ones we cannot handle, we will forward to the police for necessary action. Dissemination of information is important in community policing. Every good citizen is a good police officer. Let us take responsibility to report crime and any criminal activity that may occur in our community. The participation of citizens and civil society organizations is crucial in sustaining peace and stability in the country. Therefore, there is a need to focus on proactive policing to support existing structures for conflict prevention. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alaji F. Jallo.
Now let's take a look at news beyond our borders. There's sighs of relief from sufferers and new hope as the first new treatment for sickle cell in 20 years is approved. The National Health Service of England announced this on Tuesday. Aliou Cisse has the rest of that.
The first new sickle cell treatment in 20 years will help keep thousands of people out of hospital over the next 3 years, NHS England has said. Sickle cell disease is incurable and affects 15,000 people in the UK. Welcomed as a life-changing drug treatment, it is to be released to thousands of people in England in what has been described as a historic moment for people with sickle cell disease. The new drug will be delivered by a transfusion drip and works by binding to a protein in the blood cells to prevent restriction of blood and oxygen supply. It will help as many as 5,000 people over the next 3 years. NHS Chief Executive Amanda Pritchard, the first woman to head the NHS, said this is a historic moment for people with sickle cell disease who will be given their first new treatment in over 2 decades. People aged over 16 who suffer from multiple sickle cell crises every year will be eligible for the treatment. Sickle Cell Society Chair Kaibang Bola MBA said a new treatment brings new hope for people living with sickle cell disorder, the world's most common genetic blood condition. The National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, which recommended the drug be available on the National Health Service, said the hope of reducing health inequalities for black people who are predominantly affected and often have poorer health to start with made the drug worth recommending. Sickle cell is inherited from both parents who pass on a particular gene. However, it's possible to carry the gene without having the disease. It is reported that nearly 300 babies are born with it each year in the UK. The good thing is that a simple blood test will show whether someone has it, as children with sickle cell are at risk of stroke. Symptoms of the disease can include serious infection, anemia, and tiredness. Approximately 5 million people worldwide are thought to have the condition. About 80% of sickle cell disease cases are believed to occur in sub-Saharan Africa and also affects people of African origin living in other parts of the world. In the Gambia Sickle Cell Association and concerned stakeholders continue to observe the World Sickle Cell Day to help raise awareness about the disease. Though there are people with the disease in the Gambia, the exact figure is unknown. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
This is great news. Before we go, let's take a look at our main headlines. At its monthly meeting with stakeholders, the Electoral Commission set out the rules and regulations for nominating candidates for December's presidential election. The 2-day National Social Protection Forum has ended with a call to action handed over to the Vice President for the government to implement an inclusive social protection system. On the day, Regulatory Authority Pura set out the reasons for suspending the license of GSM company Comium. The company responded by calling a press conference to refute Pura's statement. In international news, sickle cell disease sufferers in the UK are rejoicing as a new drug is approved for treatment of the condition. That is all we have for you in this edition of QTV Midday News. Join us at 8 p.m. for more news. Thanks for watching.